Oh, yeah, let's do it. Back for another episode of AMXkids. Thank you, my young friends and my old friends who might be tuning in. So today we are going to read After the Fall, and we're going to talk about After the Fall, how Humpty Dumpty got back up again. And isn't that the truth? Ain't that the truth as to how it works? And when I say it, I mean the world. I mean your life. I mean the way it is, getting back up again. I don't remember who told me about this book, but someone mentioned it to me, obviously. I put it in my queue on Amazon, and then I came time to pick another AMXkids book, and voila, After the Fall, Humpty Dumpty it was. And I want to say this, the last several kids books, AMXkids, the last several, AMXkids books, I bought them for my daughter and she's loved them. Every time it comes in the mail, she says, "Ooh, Dad, what's that? Another book? Good. Can you read it to me?" So these are good books. So please, whether you're a youngster, whether you're the parent, coach, teacher, guardian, mentor, whatever of a youngster, please consider getting these books and reading them. Use these episodes, use these AMXkids episodes as a catapult for discussion. That's really, it's to be used as a resource. I mean, kids, if you're watching, I'm sure, I'm going to hold my breath on the fact that you would probably rather watch the Spaniard talk about kids' books than watch someone else play video games. I'm sure you're going to watch me before you watch them, right? Right? No, you're not. So I'm depending on you parents, teachers, coaches, guardians, mentors, etc. to really utilize these videos and tune in every Tuesday on the Spaniard Show, or if you're watching on Facebook Live, facebook.com/Charlie Spaniard, or on YouTube, youtube.com/Charlie Spaniard. You'll be able to watch these whenever you want. Whenever you want. So use them up. This AMXkids 25, After the Fall, how Humpty Dumpty got back up again. Remember to subscribe to the Spaniard Show on iTunes. Just type in Spaniard Show. You're going to get AMX Books Monday through Friday, where I talk about books. AMXkids on Tuesdays, where I talk about kids' books. AMX Talks on Thursdays, which are interviews with interesting, famous, successful, curious people that I bring to the show, and we learn from them. And then AMX Weekly on Saturday, where it's a whole week packaged into 20 minutes of high-flying, energy-flying, belief and hope-inducing learning. Let's dive into AMXkids 25. 1, 2, 3. Hello, my friends, and welcome to AMXkids 25. The book that we're talking about today is After the Fall, how Humpty Dumpty got back up again. And if that ain't, if I may use the word, if that ain't a metaphor for life, getting back up again, falling down, getting back up. We have a wonderful kids book here, After the Fall, how Humpty Dumpty got back up again, by Dan Sontat. Tremendous, fun read. I was telling Facebook Live, my daughter loved it. She loved it. She says, "Dad, read it. Dad, read it." My son said, "Dad, read it." They're 5 and 2. Read these books. And even if you're not 5, if you're not 2, if you're 8, 10, 12, 15, 18, 37 like myself, get these books and read them. They're fun. They're entertaining. There's so many life lessons out of them. Let me say this. This is a kid's book. It's about Humpty Dumpty. So I thought to myself, easy peasy, I'm going to read this, I'll make a lesson plan, easy plan, I'm going to talk about it, boom, boom, bang, bing, bam. This turned into research, and the meta lesson, the big lesson on today's book, After the Fall, is that of research. When's the last time you dug into, I'm going to use a big word here, etymology. Wow, it's a fancy word for what a word means, or the history of a word. Let's take that further. When's the last time you dove into the meaning, the history, the origin of a nursery rhyme? Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty back together again. Who would have thought 4 lines like that, or however long it is, 20 words, 30, whatever words, would have so much history and meaning behind it? And the lesson on research is this. I did some research, some focused research, and the truth is there's not a solid agreement on the history of Humpty Dumpty, where it came from, what it means. I believe it started out as a riddle. It then evolved into a nursery rhyme. I'm going to give you some history and facts here because I just thought it was interesting, something that we've probably all said 1,000 million times in our lives. But then we realized, oh wait, there's all this stuff behind it. The story That's what I love about stuff. The story. I just went to Chocolate World at Hershey Park the other day, and it's the story you see on the walls, the history of Milton Hershey, the history of Hershey Kisses and Twix and Kit Kats and peanut butter cups, and how Reese's and Hershey's combined to make a power chocolate. It's just, there's so much history. Let's talk a little bit about Humpty Dumpty. So Humpty Dumpty is portrayed as a personified egg. Okay, so we have an egg that has arms and legs and eyes. Humpty Dumpty. Humpty Dumpty is used to refer, and I believe a lot of this lineage traces back to Great Britain, to England. A Humpty Dumpty, back in the old days, was used to refer to a short, overweight person. Okay, so that's a Humpty Dumpty. That could have evolved into what Humpty Dumpty looks like. Also, Humpty Dumpty, this is the history. Humpty Dumpty also, I read, researched, was a large cannon in the English Civil War in 1648. And one of the beliefs of the origins of the Humpty Dumpty nursery rhyme / riddle is that during the English Civil War, it fell and shattered, and it broke into a bunch of pieces, and all the king's men couldn't put it back together again. So you have this personified egg, Humpty Dumpty, who fell off a wall. He's an egg, he cracks, they can't put him back together again. And then we realize a Humpty Dumpty is used to refer to a short, overweight person. Humpty Dumpty is a large cannon in the English Civil War in 1648. The first known publication, listen to this, the first known publication of Humpty Dumpty was in 1797 in The Juvenile Amusements by Samuel Arnold. Now, I did some research. What is the Juvenile Amusements? And truth is, I couldn't find it. It didn't say explicitly if it was a book, a collection of short stories, a collection of nursery rhymes. I surmised through the research and through piecing together, it looked to me as if it were some sort of publication of nursery rhymes, poems, etc. But I cannot guarantee that. It was called Juvenile Amusements by Samuel Arnold. And as it first appeared in 1797, get this, as it first appeared in 1797, it was this: Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall, Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. 80 men and 80 more could not make Humpty Dumpty where he was before. 80 men and 80 more could not make Humpty Dumpty as he was before. 80. We remember hearing that 7 years ago. Pop quiz, hit pause. Who said that? When did they say it? What is 80? I did some more research. Remember, the meta lesson is research. It's out there. It's at the tip of your fingers, your fingertips. Research is out there. Do you know, when I was a kid, do you know what I would have had to do to research this stuff? Now I just was pleasantly sitting at Panera Bread, typing on my phone, 80, definition, 80, etymology, Humpty Dumpty, history, origins. It's there for you, kids. Use it. Don't just use YouTube. Don't just use your phone to watch kids you don't even know play a video game. Use it to dive into this stuff, because you can see how exciting it is if you just open your mind to it. So 80, I actually looked this up. 80 refers to 20. So 80 is 4 times 20. So it's 80. So 80 and 7 years ago was 87 years ago. 80 men and 80 more. 80, that's 80. And 80 more plus 80, that equals, do the math, my friends. So it also, one more bit of history on after the fall, Humpty Dumpty. In 1870, it appeared in James William Eliot's National Nursery Rhymes and Nursery Songs. So I found out all of this history and facts at the tip of my fingers with my iPhone. You too can do it. You have to buy into the intrinsic value and joy that you can get out of learning, to understand where things come from, why they are a certain way. Let's dive into the actual book, After the Fall, How Humpty Dumpty Got Back Up Again. And I feel like the subtitle should be How Humpty Dumpty Got His Groove Back. That just sounds a little bit more natural to me. So ask yourselves, if you're in a classroom setting, get ready to hit pause. After you fall, okay? After you fall, what do you do? What do you have to do once you fall? Right? Maybe you fall, you actually fall and trip. Maybe you fail. Maybe you get something wrong. Maybe it's a big test. Maybe, I remember my first, I played the piano when I was a little kid. And I remember my first piano concert, piano recital. I remember I started, it was a very basic song, but I remember I started and I messed up like my fingers were in the wrong place. And I just remember I was at the front and it said, oops, I screwed up. And then I had to start over again. I remember when I was little and I was an altar boy. When you become an altar boy, you don't know what you're doing. So you make mistakes all the time. So they have to correct you as you go along. So what do? After you fall, you fail at something, you get something wrong, or you lose. I'm an athlete, right? I love competing. I love wrestling. I love fighting. I love this stuff. So what do you do when you lose? Because you're going to lose. If you put yourself out there, if you try things over and over and over and over again, you're going to lose. Perfection is not reality, okay? Perfection is not reality as a human being. We're flawed. We're flawed people. We make mistakes all the time. So the million, billion, zillion, trillion dollar question is, what do you do when you fall down? Hit pause, talk about it. We're back to the show. What do you do when you fall? You get back up. You get back up again, folks. That's exactly what you do. That's what Humpty Dumpty did. That's what I do. That's what you're going to do too. Now, because the theme of this show is research, okay? Remember the meta theme. So a sub-theme is getting back up again. A bigger, broader theme is that of research. So I'm going to give you a list of some names here that I want you, if you're in a classroom setting, teachers assign different groups to do some research here. But I went through, with the help of Dredd, my partner, my co-host, my shaman, my advisor, my mentor, to come up with a few stories / people that I think you will find interesting, that you can do some research on to learn how they got back up again. Anyone who is successful, pick your favorite person, okay? Pick your favorite athlete, pick your favorite band, pick your favorite actor, pick your favorite professor or teacher, pick your favorite book, the authors of that book. Every single one of those people failed many, many, many times to get where they're at. No one gets it right the first time. You're looking at a guy who fails on a regular basis, but you just keep getting back up again, just like our friend Humpty Dumpty did. So I'm going to give you a list of these names, and I want you to do some research. If you're bored, just jot them down. Next time you're bored or feeling bad about yourself or discouraged, do some research. How about J.K. Rowling, author of Harry Potter? Do some Googling. How about Harlan Sanders, founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken? I've read between 600 and 1,000 times he was told no on his recipe. He kept going. So you have J.K. Rowling. We have Harlan Sanders. Are any of you out there wearing something Nike? Are you wearing Nike? You should do some research on Phil Knight, the creator of Nike. The book, Shoe Dog. A little bit old for elementary and middle schoolers, but it's a tremendous, tremendous read. Teachers, admins, older high school kids, you should definitely read that book. So we have J.K. Rowling, we have Harlan Sanders, we have Phil Knight. How about Ben and Jerry? How about Ben and Jerry? You see the smile that came to my face when I talk about Ben and Jerry? Because I love me some Ben and Jerry ice cream. Pop quiz. Hit pause. Answer the question. What's your favorite Ben and Jerry ice cream? Boop. I think I'm going to have to go with cookie dough. And then I think a runner-up is going to be Chubby Hubby. I think those are my two favorite. Did you know? So I read a book called The Inside Scoop, and it tells the history of Ben and Jerry's from the perspective of one of their first CEO, a guy named Chico Lager, who I had on the podcast. Did you know that they have a flavor graveyard? A flavor graveyard. Why? Because not every flavor that Ben and Jerry's has is a home run or a grand slam. It's not. So they actually have a flavor graveyard. Failures. Flavors that just didn't work. And how about Mr. Rogers? Okay, Mr. Rogers. My big picture, my big vision as a human is to become a modern day version of Mr. Rogers. That my love of learning and lifelong learning and education will spread. And I can embody that. So I look at Mr. Rogers as a source of inspiration to continue doing what I'm doing. But even Mr. Rogers had his own set of failures and setbacks. He tried a grown-up show that just never caught on. He had several iterations of what eventually turned into Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood before he finally got it right. Every one of these people, hit rewind, go back a minute or so, J.K. Rowling, Harlan Sanders, Phil Knight, Ben and Jerry, Mr. Rogers, all of those people failed and failed and failed and failed. And then, just like our friend Humpty Dumpty, they got back up again. I want to throw a special one out there that's in my line of what I do, wrestling. I love wrestling. So I'm going to give you a quick name, Spencer Lee. Google it, Spencer Lee, Pennsylvania Wrestling. This kid was undefeated his entire high school career, undefeated wrestler, 3-time state champion, going for his 4th state title in the state of Pennsylvania. Guess what? Finals, senior year, last second, he loses. Shattered dreams. The chance to do something only 2 other people in the history of Pennsylvania wrestling have done, win 4 state titles, be undefeated, loses the last second of his last match in high school. Guess what he did the next year, his first year in college? Got back up, won a Division I national championship. That, my friends, is the epitome of what we're talking about after the fall. So let's take a line from the book. So after the fall, Humpty Dumpty said this, or in the book after the fall, it said this, quote, "There were some parts that couldn't be healed with bandages and glue." Look, when you fall down, when you lose, when you fail, when you get something wrong, when you're embarrassed, when you suffer something negative in your life, the physical pains, you know, I've got black eyes, I've gotten stitches, I've gotten concussed, that stuff heals. That's relatively easy to heal. But it's the scars in here that are extremely difficult to overcome because they're lasting. They last longer. They're harder to overcome. And Humpty Dumpty found that those fears were preventing him from enjoying the things that he liked to enjoy. Let's take fighting, for example, right? I loved fighting. I loved training. I get knocked out, actually knocked out cold on live television. Totally embarrassing, terrible, horrible, just not a good thing. What if I would have let that prevent me from fighting again? I would have let that fear, that sorrow, that angst in my belly, I would have let that prevent me from doing something that I love to do. Think of something that you've failed at or you've gotten knocked down, literally or figuratively. Have you let that prevent you from continuing to do that thing you love? So how do you overcome it? It's easy for me to sit here and talk to you and say, no, you just get back up again. But let's actually strategize a little bit. The best way to do it, first of all, it takes intention, it takes purpose, and it takes a decision for you to say, I'm going to overcome this. Just like Humpty Dumpty, okay? He's on the ground, he looks up, you know, in this book, he has to climb up a wall to do a thing, right? And he looks up at that wall and he says to himself, oh my gosh, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's that wall. You know, it's the wall from which he fell, and he just can't do it again. But then he takes a step, an actual step on a ladder. And then he takes another step, and another step, and another step. And before he knows it, he gets up that wall. So what do? Take that thing, right? Take that thing you're afraid of. Take that thing you're scared of. Take that thing that you're shying away from because you suffered from it. You got hurt by it. Maybe I fought and I got knocked out by it. Take baby steps. The best way to overcome that fear, that anxiety, that angst that lies within you is to take baby steps. I shattered my eye socket, this eye. If you notice, sometimes it's a little bit lazy. It's because I shattered it. I broke my eye socket, smashed my bones around my eye. So the step-by-step process of how I recovered and how I got in a cage and fought again was this. I didn't get out of the hospital bed and get in a fist fight that next day. You take baby steps. First thing I did is I went for a run. And I thought, okay, my eye's still in my head. The frame of my eye is working. Good. And then I hit mitts, right? You hit mitts. Meaning I had a partner, I hit a mitt, but I didn't hit a body. I didn't have anyone hit me. And then I sparred with someone without getting hit in the face. Okay, so we're going to spar, but we're not going to hit in the face. Okay. Next step, I found someone that I really, really, really trusted. And I said, okay, I'm very nervous here. First time I sparred, after I shattered my eye socket, I need you to go very, very, very light. They went very, very, very light. Boom, I got hit. I thought, okay, I can do this, I can do this. And then you up the intensity. Before you know it, you're back to normal. That's how you overcome these things. That's how you overcome the feelings inside, right? The physical pain, that goes away. The eyes stopped hurting, whatever, they go away. But it's the inside stuff that's really tough. And it's the inside stuff that you have to go step by step by step by step until you can overcome it. You're not going to try to climb Mount Everest tomorrow, right? You got to climb Mount Everest one step at a time, just like you've got to overcome those fears and anxieties one step at a time. So the last thing I want to send you off with is this. In the book, Humpty Dumpty is known as, right, on the inside cover, it says, "My name is Humpty Dumpty. I'm famous for falling off a wall. You may have heard about it." That's not a good thing, right? That's not something that anyone wants to be known for, is falling off a wall. And I read that, and I thought to myself, there was a point in time when I was known as, I would get hecklers online and mean people on social media say, "You're the guy that gets knocked out all the time," and people would make fun of me and make social media accounts just to make fun of me, say I got knocked out all the time. "Oh, you're going to lose again. Oh, they're bringing you in to lose. They're bringing you in to get beat up, blah, blah, blah." It doesn't feel good, right? But my challenge to you, if you find yourself in that situation where you're known as this person, the person that loses, fails, falls short, doesn't get the thing done, or maybe even you just think you're that person. You just have that in your head. You just made that up. No one else thinks about it, but you think it. And if you think it, that's a problem. So what about this? I'm going to issue you a challenge. I'm going to say, instead of being the person who gets knocked out, fails the test, doesn't get the promotion, doesn't get the spot on the team, doesn't get the first chair in the orchestra or the band, why don't you commit this day forward of being known as the boy or the girl or the man or the woman who gets back up again, right? It ain't about how hard you can get hit, or it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. And the words of our friend Rocky Balboa probably butchered that quote, but you get the point. Commit here and now to be known as the boy, as the girl, as the man, or as the woman who will never stop getting back up. This has been AMX Books 25. Thank you, Dan, for writing the book. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. After the fall, how Humpty Dumpty got back up again / got his groove back. I encourage you all to tune in every Tuesday. We have new episodes of AMXkids where I'm reading kids' books in my own time, and I'm teaching their life lessons to you here on AMXkids. Monday through Friday is AMX Books, where I'm reading grown-up books, and I'm teaching what I learned from the grown-up books. We have AMX Talks, where I'm interviewing all kinds of interesting people, famous, not famous, interesting, successful, regular, just like you and me, all of these people from all walks of life who are teaching us what they know, and then we're bringing it to the screen. And then Saturdays for AMX Weekly. If you'd like to help to support the show and to support my lifelong learning vision, please consider visiting patreon.com/Charlie Spaniard. It's an opportunity for you, the listener, the consumer, to help support my movement, my lifelong learning movement. I have big plans to get into schools, to get into businesses, to travel, bring more and more awesome content to you. And if you'd like to help support that movement for as little as $1 a day, patreon.com/Charlie Spaniard. The links are on YouTube. The links are on my Facebook page. The links are on the Spaniard Show on iTunes, whatever podcast app's out there. Kids, read a book. I'll see you next time. All right, so that is where I will have stopped recording on the podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. Consider to hop on over, or down, I guess it is, to patreon.com/Charlie Spaniard. And some cool stuff's in the works. I'll see you tomorrow morning for AMX Books 633. See ya.